Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody had a good and relaxing a little break. Not really by choice, but just by, well, yes, by choice and by circumstance. Took a little relaxation break here. We still have to finish Leviticus, which is fine. We have plenty of time to do so. We only have 2 more parts in the section, so I think we'll get through it just fine. Let's begin with a word from the Quran. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Right. Awesome. This is from Surah 40, line 40, line 15. I'll read, raised high above the ranks or degrees. He is the Lord of the throne of authority. By his command doth he send the spirit of inspiration to any of his servants he pleases, that it may warn men of the day of mutual meeting. Alright. High above degrees, he is the Lord of the throne of authority. By his command doth send the spirit excuse me, kind of getting the day going here. Inspiration to any of his servants. Pleases me warn men of the day of mutual meeting. Wonderful. Raised high above the ranks or decrees, he is the Lord of the throne of authority. So we hear a lot about in the Bible how Jesus himself is the authority on heaven and earth, or he has been given authority on heaven he has been given authority of heaven and earth. And this season, celebrating Jesus, right? But again, he claims he is given the authority, correct? And we're celebrating Jesus, the season of his birth, right? But what was the whole point of his life? To glorify Lord, right? The God, the Lord. He is high above any ranks or decrees, assuming that there are ranks and decrees and levels of authority that exist, right? But he is high above all of that. And the whole purpose of Jesus and his life here on earth and his birth and why he was sent here by the spirit of inspiration from the Lord is to go ahead and glorify and to notify and to warn others of God's presence. So as much as we celebrate Jesus and his glory and his saviorship, which is very important because I would say his methods and his teachings are very different from God's. God is very especially as we're reading in the Old Testament, very strict, I would say, right? Strict and does not mess around. And we talk a little bit about, or we will talk about a little bit about his methodologies of an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Jesus was kind of the opposite, right? He said, turn the other cheek, forgive others who do wrong by you, that sort of thing. So very different again in teaching, but his whole purpose and his whole instruction of his birth and his life was to praise God and to glorify God and to notify those around him of God. He says, yes, this is my Father, because he was sent by somebody larger than he, right? It showed that level of difference, right, and that authority. So, we're warning those of the day of mutual meeting. Jesus was sent by inspiration to go ahead and warn those. Same with Muhammad, same with many of the other prophets of the old, angels, right? You name it, we're all being warned and we're all being notified of the day of mutual meeting and to prepare for it. We're going to talk a lot about in Leviticus what this preparation looks like, right? Not necessarily for meeting the Lord, but for moving into a new land and, making his announcements true. Basically, how he was promising the covenant, right? The covenant of the new land. The Lord is now preparing the people for that time. So we're going to read about that. I really do not have too much time this morning, but I think I'll go into some personal time here in a few minutes, and we'll go ahead and get through this next section of Leviticus. Since, just two more sections to go. And then we'll go into Numbers, which will be all the more interesting, just kind of carrying out what Leviticus is talking about here. But yes, the Lord, all praises to the Lord, always. All right. Let's go ahead and begin the next section here. See you in a bit.